what could be more Christmassy than an unboxing, guys? A couple of things missing here. One, the watch. And two, the booze. Oh, what do we have here? A nice Franciacorta. If you're not getting champagne, guys, Franciacorta is the way to go. This, by the way, has been refrigerated. On one of my last unboxings, people were saying, hey, how can you drink it if it's not been refrigerated? It has been. It's just in the box in the fridge. You think I'm going to drink warm champagne? You know, your minds. If you don't want to go the champagne route, this is a really good option. I know a lot of people think Prosecco is cheap champagne, but it's not. Prosecco is a completely different method. They do enriching with Prosecco. They add sugar. Big no-no. This is Franciacorta, which is basically, it's the same method, the metodo classico, as they say. High pressures, 200 pounds of pressure in the bottle, just like a champagne. This one's by Berlucchi, and you can get these for about 20-25 bucks. Beats spending a lot more money on a champagne. I think you when you get a new Rolex watch or any high-end watch, you should always treat yourself to a little bit of bubbly. So let me get a glass. Still no flutes in the house, unfortunately, but this will do fine. Let's pop her open. I hope all of you are getting set up for a nice Christmas. I know it's going to be a subdued one, but hopefully you have something nice in store anyway. Here she is. Look at that. Don't we love that mist? Basically with the Metodo Classico, you're getting those tiny bubbles because of the high pressure. And any sweetness or alcohol content is because of fermentation. It's not because of enriching. Enriching is actually illegal in some countries. California, for example, have a very stringent rule about enriching wine. Some people do it when their wine is a little weak. They add extra sugar and let it ferment further. But the Californians won't allow it because they want to keep their standards high. The French, of course, frown on that too. Let me clear away this stuff. But it does happen. You'll find enriching happening in the South American countries, for example. They tend to get up to that. Anyway, guys, 2020 is coming to an end. Thank God for that. Not a minute too soon. And I just picked up a new watch, and it's time to do a little bit of a chin-chin. I don't know what you're drinking out there. Maybe you're only having a coffee or tea, but whatever you're enjoying right now, cheers to you guys, and Merry Christmas to you all. Oh, that's wonderful. Toasty notes. That's what you want in a fine champagne. And as you can see, like mini bubbles, nothing crazy like you'll get in a Prosecco. Prosecco gives me a headache. I hate that stuff. Unlike many of my other Rolex purchases, this is not from the AD. My AD said, sure, they'll get me one, they'll hook me up with the new models and all of that, but it's going to take a little time. I do have that customer loyalty thing going on, but it's going to take a little time. I'm going to have to wait, and certainly nothing's going to happen for the holidays, and I had a yearning for a new watch. I had my two-tone Submariner, which a lot of people are saying, why don't you just sell that now? You have the Sea Dweller. It looks almost the same, just a little bit bigger, the two-tone one. Very good point. I just never got around to it. I don't know why. And I recently mentioned on my questions and answers video, part 1, part 2 is on its way, by the way, that I'd maybe take an offer. I got a lot of offers on it, but I did get one offer from a guy locally saying that he'd take my two-tone off my hands and give me a brand spanking new stainless steel Submariner plus a little cash. And I thought, you know, I mean, obviously the retail on the two-tone is a lot different to what this is retail, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Like, it's all bets are off when it comes to that kind of stuff. These models trade as high as the two-tones or even higher in some cases. So it was a kind of a good deal, especially with the cash involved and so on. I know I'm going to get one of these from my AD at some point in the new year. I'm going to get that call, but and I'll pick it up. Why not? Of course I will. But for now, I just wanted to get my hands on one of these. So I said, you know what? It's time to move on from that watch. So as you saw, it's got the outer box, of course. It's a brand new watch. It was only picked up a couple of weeks ago from the same AD. It's actually, the guy who bought it is a gondoliere, which is one of the guys who, you know, steers and rows gondola for a living. Those guys, believe it or not, they make a very good living for themselves. Not this year, of course, tourism was way down, but assumably he had some money set aside. He got the call. He wore the watch for a day or two and said, you know what? I don't really need it. I'm not crazy about it. I have another one just like it from the previous generation. Anyway, it all worked out fine. I was chuffed to get it. It was a very clean transaction. So let's open the box. And as you can see, there is no, there's none of that little foam thing over here. He obviously got rid of it. If I had picked it up in the AD, that would still have that on it, and I tend to leave all those kind of things on just to keep the value of the watch. Let me have a little bit of bubbly. Gotta keep the priorities straight here. So let's take a look at the watch. And there she is. I'll put the gloves on, of course, because I don't want to smudge it up with fingerprints and so on. Yes, these are real Rolex gloves. I'm not a jeweler. I just purchased them just to complete the whole look. It looks a lot nicer than white gloves. I think black gloves look nice too. But these are the real deal, and they're really good for polishing the watch off as you go. So there she is, guys. This is the new Submariner 126610LN. I'm the proud owner of a 16610LN, the RRR version from 2010, pre-ceramic. Absolutely love it. I also own a couple of these in the 116610LN varietal. I am no longer the owner of a 116613LN, of course, because now I have this. This is the 41 mil, just announced. If you've been living under a rock for the past while and you don't know, Rolex have come out with a new range of Submariners with an upgraded movement, 32, 35, I should say. An absolute upgrade, 70 hours power reserve and so on, various different advantages to that new movement, and a slightly larger case. Is it noticeably larger? I don't know. It's hard to really, it is slightly, you can see something. Honestly, there are things that I'm noticing more than its diameter, and I'll get onto those in a minute. There's an extra link in here. I guess his wrist isn't so skinny that he would have to remove 2 or 3 links. Let's take a look at all our goodies in here. A very important new addition to the Rolex line is, of course, their new cards. A totally different look to their cards than we've gotten to know. I don't know if I like them yet or not. They look a little, they're trying to be flashy, which somehow cheapens it slightly. It does have a gold lining around the edge. All the perimeter of the card is in gold. On the back, and this is funny because I can actually show you this back. Okay, I've covered the serial number with a piece of tape just so I don't have to get in and blur it out. It'll take me ages in editing. But everything else is, there's no sign, there's no information about the vendor or who purchased it. rumor has it that's all in a little chip that's on the inside of the card. I still have to confirm if that's true or not. If any of you guys know for sure, leave a comment down below. This date is not the American way of writing. It's not November 12th, 2020. It's actually the 11th of December, 2020. We write it that way, kind of the more logical way, starting from the day, the month, the year. I know you guys in the States do it the other way. So it really is very, very new. Anyway, it's cool to have one of these cards. I mean, I have a lot of these watches, and I have the old card. I have the old big paper that looks like a deed to a home or whatever with my my Daytona, but I haven't owned one of these cards yet. So this is the first for me, the first of many, let's hope. And of course, you have your usual service manual here. I'm not going to bother taking it out. I'm sure you guys have seen many of them. I'm still trying to decide whether I like this card or not. I don't know. I guess I'll come around to it. When anything is updated and made new, we always crib about it a little bit, don't we? It's like, I don't like the new version. It's always the way. And then, of course, Submariner date. Manual, basically. What to do with the crown and so on. I want to get onto that too. There's a very important difference with this movement that kind of shocked me at first. Basic stuff. This is actually probably the most interesting of all the cards. This just marks off what it's made of. So as you can see, you have all the different types of metal they can use. First of all, there's the information about the head of Rolex Italy and so on, and their address, etc., etc. But here you have like Rolicium. It says a combination of acciaio, that's steel. Inossidabile. Inossidabile is, it cannot be oxidated. So, in other words, stainless steel. And platinum. Rolesor, of course, is a combination of stainless steel and 18 karat gold. Platino is platinum. Oro, of course, is gold, 750 out of 1,000, which is 18 karat. I don't believe they make a 24 karat anything at all. It would probably fall apart. It's far too soft. And then, of course, up at the top, kind of strangely paradoxical and ironic that the cheapest of the lot is the one most sought after, the oyster steel. Tick in the box there next to oyster steel somehow became the new precious metal in the world of watches, quite astoundingly. And that's really what you want to see, that little tick there on the top of the box. Unless you're going for the third one down there, the platinum, you're talking about a very, very big price difference. Different kind of chap who can afford that kind of watch. Anyway, let's take a look at the watch. First of all, before we do that, I've got to deal with medical issues. Oh, come on, guys, it's Christmas. Let's hope for a better year in 2021, right? So here she is, 41 millimeters. It's kind of, it's amazing to actually have one in my hands. I was trying one on there in one of my recent videos in the AD, and they did say they'll get one for me, and I just got to wait a few months. But I was wearing a Daytona, my two-tone Daytona in that video, and I was trying on this watch, and then I went into a Panerai store right next door, and I was trying on big fat Panerais. I love Panerai. And I noticed in the video that the Daytona looked so small after I saw all these bigger watches on me, and I was like, you know what? I've got a case of cognitive dissonance here. I'm in love with all these watches, but they really don't suit me. They don't fit my wrist, which is what attracted me to the 41 in the first place. Just that little bit bigger for my big wrist. So let's have a look. So are you seeing any differences? I mean, what we have here is a 41 millimeter diameter instead of 40. So you're talking about a difference of 0.5 of a millimeter all around. And as it happens, those numbers are approximate. I mean, the old 40 millimeter, the one from earlier this year, basically, and before that, all the way back to 2010, is a little bit bigger than a 40 mil anyway, and this apparently is shy just by a very small amount of a 41. So really, we're not talking about much of a difference. We are, however, looking at a difference in the shoulders here on the lugs. They're just a little bit smoother, a little bit more tapered in, not quite as robust. Still big lugs, still hefty, but not quite as much as the previous version. The differences I'm feeling the most are the thinness. It feels thinner than my other subs. My Batman GMT, which normally is about the same thickness, and if I hold it next to it, I think I'm seeing a difference there in thickness of the watches. For some reason, this sub just feels a little closer to the wrist overall, if I'm honest. You seeing that there? There's a slight difference in thickness. Now the barrel underneath, this is a little deeper than it will be on the GMT because this has a lot more water resistance. It's a thicker, deeper watch, ever so slightly, of course, than the GMT. This has 100 meters water resistance. This has 300. So that's always been the case between the sub and the GMT. The GMT, of course, is a 40 mil, and this is a 2018 GMT. So it will have ever so slightly tapered lugs in comparison to the ones previous. Are you seeing the difference there? You see the way these are a bit bulkier. One of the biggest differences I see is the size of the clasp, the width of the clasp. It's absolutely a different size completely. And the width and size of the bracelet, and as it hugs the watch, the end links there. I have my no date sub here, and if we look at the bracelet here, you can see a size difference, and especially in the clasp. Look at that, the width. So this just feels like it has more muscle to it somehow. Now here's another thing, and I don't know if this is bothering anyone. I haven't heard much about it. I see people on videos adjusting the crown and changing the time, but not mentioning this. This is huge for me. So now I've opened the crown, everything works in exactly the same way. But when I move the crown to adjust the time, I'm used to rolling forward clockwise and the time going forward, always with a Rolex, always. However, it's no longer the case. It's the opposite now. So now it's like the Breitling cockpit that I did the big video on in Sienna. It's like the Omegas. A lot of the Omegas are like that. And even when I was doing the comparison between the real and fake Submariner, the 116610LN, real versus fake, by far my most viewed video. One of the biggest differences to me, other than certain aesthetics and so on, was that, of course, the real one went forward in time when you went clockwise, and obviously back in time if you go the other way, whereas the fake one didn't. But now this feels so weird that now when I go forward, I'm like, really? Is that really true? I mean, what difference does it make? None. It doesn't matter at all. But it's just astounding to me that so much has changed inside the movement that this no longer works the same way. It's just a weird thing. One of those little things you get used to on your watch. Let me screw this back in. Of course, you got to put in the pressure. I'll set the time again later. And screw her back in nice and tight, not too tight, but good and solid, flush against the side. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely seeing and feeling the difference with the wider lug spacing here and the wider bracelet. There's just a lot more happening on the bracelet side and on the clasp side. Everything else is the same. I mean, it works exactly the same way. Same interior, just wider ever so slightly. And of course the glide lock. Now it's funny because it's when you pick up one of these watches in the authorized dealer, they, of course, one of the Rolex rules is to take the stickers off right there in front of you before you leave the store with the watch, because of course they want to deter people from reselling. However, in all the cases where I've been in an authorized dealer, they always miss a couple of stickers. On my Yachtmaster, for example, they miss the ones that are down here that kind of turn around and cover the lugs. They missed those, and I left them on for the longest time as well. Of course I did. Many times I've seen them miss little stickers that go down here and turn in. They just cover that and turn in, and they're easily missed because, of course, if the watch is closed, it's kind of covering those stickers. So quite often they miss those. You just get used to the things that they miss. But whoever was dealing with the chap who purchased this did a very comprehensive job, except for one thing. I actually found one that he missed, and it's right under here. If you take the glide lock all the way out to the end, you see that little red guy at the end there? That's a little sticker just covering the very end, the very tail. So I'm going to leave it on, of course. That's the only one, as far as I can see, that he missed. Overall, the condition of this is pretty much perfect. I did notice a couple of tiny abrasions here, just a couple of tiny dots, no biggie. If I really get anal about it, I could have someone buff those out in a second, but I'm gonna leave it as it is. Why even bother? It's absolutely fine. The watch was worn probably twice, and not while he was working, because right now not only is there no tourism in Venice, but it's also cold weather. Nobody's getting into a gondola, so he wasn't wearing it out on work. You do see a lot of the gondolieri with black Submariners on. I've even seen one with a rose gold Yachtmaster, so that'll tell you how much money they make while it's good season. Anyway, that is the watch. It is beautiful and simple, as you would expect from one of these stainless steel sports Rolexes. A little bit under the radar, not too loud as Rolex watches go. And feels strange to have probably one of the most sought after watches in the world right now in my hands. I mean, the only other one that maybe is a bit more sought after would be the LV, the Lunette Verte, which is of course, a lot of people call it the new Kermit or the Starbucks. That one might be a bit more lusted after, but this is a very close second, and probably one of the most universal watches in the Rolex line, the one that everyone kind of is happy with. You know, does anyone hate black? I don't think. Black works with pretty much everybody, right? So there it is. I have to say the thing I'm most impressed about is this nice wide clasp and the wider bracelet. It just works and fits me a little bit better. So there it is, guys. A new watch, just to put a little bit of brightness on the end of the year. I hope you are all doing the same or similar. If it's not a new watch, maybe a couple of new straps or something, or a watch winder or watch case or something like that. Have a look at those Mirage watch cases I mentioned recently. They're not too expensive and still high quality. Let's hope this year fizzles out quietly and safely and doesn't have any more ugly surprises for us. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And I will see you straight after the holidays with some great new episodes. Cheers, guys.